Caitlin Clark's reported $150 million contract didn't just break records. It broke the WNBA's grip on women's basketball. The offer wasn't just money. It came with global visibility, ownership stakes, and luxury perks no domestic team could match. And when she accepted, it wasn't just a career move, it became the tipping point. The WNBA, long criticized for underpaying its stars and dragging its feet on reform, suddenly found itself without leverage. Project B didn't just lure one player. It exposed a system too fragile to protect its future.
If you're here for the real story and not the filtered version, subscribe. And if you're sticking around for the next meltdown, you better definitely subscribe.
This moment isn't isolated. It marks the collapse of a model that ignored the growing value of its athletes. With stars like Clark jumping ship and Saudi-backed investors building a league around global media deals, private jets, and worldwide events, the WNBA now looks like a regional outpost in a game it used to lead. The scramble to stop the bleeding has begun, but with the biggest name already gone, the damage may be irreversible. Caitlin Clark just signed a $100 million deal, and it might be the moment that ends the WNBA as we know it. The reported deal isn't just historic. It's unprecedented, disruptive, and existential. Clark, the face of a league, the player the WNBA was banking on to usher in a new golden era, has reportedly taken an offer that goes far beyond basketball. The league's most talked about athlete is now the first major name attached to what's being called the biggest threat to the WNBA survival, Project B. Backed by Saudi billions, Project B is not trying to compete. It's trying to replace. And if this report is true, Caitlin Clark just became the catalyst for the biggest shift in the history of women's sports. The contract is reported to be worth $150 million, guaranteed over 5 years. That's $30 million per year, multiple times more than the WNBA's entire team salary cap. And it doesn't stop there. The deal allegedly includes ownership equity, bonuses, private travel, luxury housing, and a lifetime support package. Clark wouldn't just be playing in a new league. She'd be a part of building it. This is bigger than any contract in WNBA history. In fact, it's bigger than the league itself. Because this isn't just about one player leaving. It's about a new system buying out the entire ecosystem. Project B is launching with a reported $5 to $10 billion investment. And they're not quietly building in the background. They're going directly after the WNBA's top 20 players with multi-million-dollar offers. The goal? Total displacement. And it's not speculation anymore. Project B is targeting more than athletes. They're locking in global streaming deals, international tournaments, and fashion world partnerships in cities like Paris, Tokyo, and Dubai. Their approach is aggressive, calculated, and fully funded. They're building the entertainment infrastructure the WNBA has spent decades struggling to access. And now, they're doing it in months. What makes this moment even more seismic is the WNBA's response, or lack of one. According to reports, the league's leadership is in panic mode. Commissioner Kathy Engelbert and even NBA Commissioner Adam Silver have reportedly been scrambling behind the scenes, attempting to negotiate last-minute counteroffers and slow the exodus. But the problem is deeper than one contract. The WNBA's financial model has always relied on sustainable growth. That model just got outpaced by oil money and unchecked ambition. Players are watching, because this isn't just about Clark, it's about value. It's about a league that, for years, told players to be patient while simultaneously underpaying them and underpromoting them. Now, someone else is saying, "We'll pay you what you're worth today." Project B's message is simple. If the WNBA won't value you, we will. And with money on the table that surpasses any contract in league history by 10, 20, even 50 times, that message is resonating. The numbers say it all. Reports claim some players are being offered over $1 million per game. Others are being given bonuses just for signing. On top of that, villas, private jets, full-time staff, international visibility, and security for themselves and their families. The WNBA simply can't match it. And so the power is shifting, not gradually, Not theoretically. Immediately. Clark's alleged departure signals the start of a domino effect. If the league's most bankable name, its ratings magnet, its merchandise juggernaut, has jumped ship, how many others will follow? How many will even hesitate? For years, the league has battled criticism over low salaries, commercial exposure, and player treatment. Those flaws have been debated, dismissed, and defended. But Project B didn't debate. They exploited. And they didn't just pick a fight with the WNBA, they exposed its vulnerabilities. The flight delays, the marketing gaps, the pay disparities. They turned all of it into leverage. Then they turned that leverage into contracts. And now, reportedly, they've landed Caitlin Clark. Clark's silence speaks volumes. No official statement, no denial, no endorsement. Just a growing storm of speculation that's been met with silence from the WNBA and nervous energy from fans. That silence? It's telling, because if this were false, the league would have every reason to shut it down publicly. But they haven't, which leaves only one conclusion. Something is happening behind closed doors, and the league doesn't have control of the narrative anymore. This isn't just a crisis of money. It's a crisis of identity. The WNBA built itself on culture, community, and long-term stability. But that model didn't prioritize player value. Now, it's paying the price. If Clark walks, others will follow. The international tour planned by Project B reportedly spans fashion capitals and global entertainment hubs. We're talking sold-out games in Dubai, Rio, Singapore, Paris. Exclusive streaming rights with Netflix and Amazon. The goal isn't to supplement the WNBA. It's to replace it. That's why the video calls this the end of the WNBA, not just a challenge to it. Because if Project B succeeds in peeling away the league's top 10 to 20 stars, and then locks in global sponsors, and then offers a better product to fans and brands, the WNBA becomes a feeder league, a footnote, a seasonal sideshow. And no one wants to say it out loud, but the signs are there. The league is already struggling to retain its talent in the off-season, with many players heading to Europe or Asia for better pay. Now, those destinations may be replaced by one centralized, glamorous, and ultra-luxurious league that offers everything in one package. Pay, visibility, comfort, security. So what happens next? For the WNBA, the options are bleak. They either find a way to radically restructure their business model in a matter of months, which is unlikely, or they brace for a full-blown talent drain that could fundamentally reshape the league forever. And what about the players? The ones who've waited years for recognition, endorsement deals, and livable salaries? This may be their only shot. And for many, it won't be a hard choice. You can't blame them. A $25 million salary, a private jet, a villa in Monaco, a guaranteed career after basketball, versus flying commercial, sharing hotels, and hoping the league finds room in the budget to boost the team bus. So yes, Clark's reported $100 million plus deal isn't just a contract. It's a signal. It tells the entire league the game has changed. This isn't about loyalty. It's about leverage. And for the first time, women's basketball players have all of it. The question now is whether the WNBA can survive without its stars. And if not, what replaces it? Because Project B isn't waiting. They're not holding focus groups or forming committees. They're buying the future in real time. And if Caitlin Clark really is the first domino to fall, the rest may be right behind her. So what do you think? Is this the start of a new era or the end of the WNBA's reign? Is this about empowerment or exploitation? And can any league survive when the money gets this big, this fast? If you're locked into this unfolding drama, don't miss what happens next. Like the video if you're following the saga. Share it with someone who still thinks the WNBA is safe. Subscribe for more updates on how this story continues to shake the sports world. And drop a comment. Would you walk away from the WNBA for $150 million? The moment Caitlin Clark's name was linked to this $100 million bombshell, it wasn't just a story. It was the story. The WNBA didn't just lose a player. They lost the face of their future. The player they'd marketed as the league savior. The one who brought in record-breaking viewership, sold-out arenas, and a surge of national attention that hadn't been seen in years. Clark wasn't just another rising star. She was the plan. So when reports started swirling that she'd taken a Saudi-backed deal to become the foundational piece of Project B, that wasn't just news, it was a warning shot. And the silence from both her camp and the league? Deafening. Because this isn't just about basketball anymore. This is about power. Project B isn't hiding its strategy. It's not easing into the market or playing nice. It's bulldozing everything in its path with blank checks, luxury perks, and international reach the WNBA simply doesn't have. The goal is clear: dominate women's basketball on a global scale. Not share, not coexist. Dominate. Clark's reported deal was never about one player switching jerseys. It was a public declaration that Project B is playing a different game entirely. We're talking luxury contracts that start at $25 million annually, with performance bonuses, private chefs, full-time personal staff, and access to year-round international events in cities like Paris, Rio, Dubai, and Tokyo. The goal isn't just to pay players, it's to redefine what playing women's basketball looks like. This is what's being sold to athletes. You've already given your talent to a league that paid you $75,000 a year. Now let's show you what that talent is really worth. And it's working. The WNBA's carefully built ecosystem, modest but growing, has been disrupted overnight by a financial force with no ceiling. The league that spent decades fighting for national airtime now has to contend with a rival that's negotiating with Netflix and Amazon for global streaming rights. Let that sink in. The WNBA has spent years trying to get ESPN to show games in prime time. Project B is over here finalizing deals with the biggest platforms in digital entertainment to stream elite women's basketball on demand globally, with fashion and lifestyle integrations baked into the product. It's not just basketball. It's branding. It's content. It's a movement with the money to back it up. And the WNBA? They're stuck scrambling. Reports say that behind closed doors, league officials are panicking, trying to restructure, trying to salvage. But at this point, they're not just losing players. They're losing control of the narrative. Kathy Engelbert and Adam Silver are reportedly working on emergency plans. But how do you respond when your most bankable star has already accepted the offer? When the biggest names in your league are next in line for similar deals? When the only thing you can offer in response is loyalty? Loyalty doesn't pay off your mortgage. Loyalty doesn't match a $150 million contract. Loyalty doesn't come with a jet to fly you to a sold-out arena in Paris for a Friday night game, followed by a Vogue-sponsored gala. And players know that, because as the WNBA dragged its feet on pay equity, as they justified low salaries with growth strategy and long-term investment, Project B saw an opportunity. They didn't need to build a league from the ground up. They just needed to buy the top talent. And now that the first domino has reportedly fallen, the rest are weighing their options seriously. The top 20 players in the WNBA reportedly have offers on the table right now. Multi-year contracts, life-changing money, ownership equity, global platform, a chance to play fewer games for more money, with elite travel and far less wear and tear on their bodies. The WNBA can't compete with that. They can't offer even a fraction of that financial security. Not because they don't want to, but because their structure simply doesn't allow it. And this is where the real failure becomes clear. It's not that the WNBA didn't care. It's that they didn't act. They didn't scale. They didn't invest. They let their stars get flown commercial and paid like afterthoughts. And now, they're paying the price. Project B exposed every crack in the system. And instead of plugging holes, the league is watching the water rush in. Because Caitlin Clark's reported $100+ million deal isn't a one-off. It's a template. The first blueprint. And once it's been done once, it can be done again. And again. And again. And the players are watching. They're talking. They're weighing loyalty versus legacy. And for many, the choice is obvious. No one wants to be the last one left behind, stuck in a system that undervalues them, while their peers are living in Monaco and playing in Paris under contracts that finally reflect their true market value. So where does that leave the WNBA? If things continue down this path, it leaves them as a development league, a farm system, a seasonal option that operates in the shadow of a new global behemoth. Project B isn't trying to be an alternative. It's positioning itself as the premier. And the scariest part for the WNBA, they handed them the playbook. By underpaying, underpromoting, and underselling their biggest stars, the league made it easy for someone else to come in and offer what they never could or would. That's not just mismanagement. That's a systemic failure. And the league's window to respond is closing fast. If the rumors are true and Clark is already signed, expect a wave. Expect agents to go silent. Expect media attention to shift. Expect players to walk away. Not out of disrespect, but out of necessity. Out of ambition. Out of reality. Because what Project B is offering isn't just money. It's a future. It's everything the WNBA promised, delivered overnight. So now the question is no longer if the WNBA will change. It's whether it can survive. And if you followed the league, you know how painful that is to say. Because there are real people in these front offices who've dedicated their lives to growing the game. Real fans who've supported the league through every bump, every challenge, every low point. But the cold truth is this. If the league doesn't adapt right now, today, it won't just be playing catch-up. It'll be irrelevant. Because Project B isn't playing fair. They're playing to win. And based on what we're seeing, they already are. So if you're watching this unfold in real time, you're witnessing one of the most dramatic shifts in sports history. A global takeover. A rewriting of power. A moment when the old guard failed to pay attention and the new guard wrote a check. And Caitlin Clark? She's at the center of it all. The moment Caitlin Clark's name became attached to that reported $150 million deal, every executive in the WNBA knew what it meant, even if no one was saying it out loud. The league's safety net was gone. The plan to build the future of women's basketball around Clark shattered. The face of the league was no longer just representing the WNBA. She was now the face of something else. Something much bigger. And maybe, depending on who you ask, something irreversible. Project B didn't just land a superstar. They landed leverage. And once you get leverage in a market that's been undervalued for decades, everything changes. Clark's decision, if confirmed, isn't just a power move, it's a seismic shift. It puts every WNBA player on notice and every executive on edge. Because if the most celebrated, most followed, and most monetized player in the league is walking away from the WNBA's long game for instant, generational wealth, what stops the rest? And the truth is, nothing. Because Project B isn't building from scratch. They're building on top of what the WNBA has already created. They've studied the blueprint, circled the flaws in red, and then offered the exact thing the league never could. Immediate reward. No more promises of slow growth. No more 5-year projections. Just real money, real recognition, and a real global platform right now. That's why the reported top 20 WNBA players have already been approached. These aren't bench players. These are MVPs, champions, all-stars, the core of the league. The ones who sell jerseys, move tickets, and pull TV numbers. And every single one of them has likely had to ask the same question. Why stay? What are they staying for? A league that still limits charter flights? A salary cap that wouldn't cover a single year of what Project B is offering one player? Loyalty only stretches so far when the other side is offering financial freedom, legacy control, and international exposure on a scale the WNBA simply can't match. This isn't about emotion. It's about economics. Project B isn't asking players to take a chance. They're offering guarantees, ownership shares, lifetime security, and they're putting it all in writing. Meanwhile, the WNBA is stuck trying to justify why some of its best athletes still need second jobs overseas in the offseason. That contradiction is at the heart of this storm. Because while the WNBA built a legacy off resilience, culture, and advocacy, it neglected something critical, paying its stars what they're worth. The league expected players to fight for recognition while being underpaid, while traveling coach, while playing back-to-back games across time zones. And now that someone's come along with a solution that makes all of that obsolete, the league is scrambling. Not innovating, scrambling. The silence from Clark's camp? That's not a denial. It's a strategy. And it's brilliant. Because every day that passes without a public confirmation only deepens the tension. Fans are holding their breath. Players are watching. Executives are sweating. And the message underneath that silence is loud and clear. You had your chance. Because for years, the WNBA had Caitlin Clark in their sights. They knew she was coming. They knew the hype. They had the numbers. And still, they offered her the same standard rookie contract. No structural changes. No revolutionary offers. Just more of the same system that's been called sustainable, but was never actually scalable. And now they're shocked she might walk. This isn't betrayal, it's business. And in business, if you fail to invest in your biggest asset, someone else will. The real story here isn't just that Project B is offering luxury villas and global tours. It's that the WNBA made it easy for them to do it. They left the door wide open by sticking to outdated pay models and dragging their feet on media deals, brand expansion, and player equity. So now, Project B is walking through that door with a suitcase full of cash and a blueprint to take over. The stakes couldn't be higher. If Clark's deal is made official, the dominoes won't fall slowly. They'll crash. Players talk, agents talk, and more importantly, fans move with stars. If Clark leaves, eyeballs leave. Ratings dip, brands follow, and suddenly, the WNBA isn't fighting for growth. It's fighting for survival. And let's not forget the international strategy here. Project B is lining up tournaments in global cities. Paris, Dubai, Singapore, Tokyo. They're selling out arenas before a single game has been played. They're negotiating streaming rights with Netflix and Amazon, platforms that reach billions globally. Not just viewers, markets. This isn't just a basketball league. It's a global product. Fashion, culture, entertainment. Project B is tying it all together with a billion-dollar bow. And they're doing it with the players, not in spite of them. That's what makes it such a threat. Because Project B isn't offering players a better version of the WNBA. They're offering them something entirely new. A reimagined ecosystem where players are partners, not just employees. Where marketing budgets aren't next year's goal. They're step one. Where the infrastructure is built around athletes, not forced on top of them. And the WNBA? They're stuck playing defense, trying to hold the line while the entire front line is being bought out. Trying to reassure sponsors while the league's brightest star might be gone before the next tip-off. If Clark really has signed, or even just seriously entertained this deal, it's a message to the league and to every athlete watching that the old model is no longer acceptable. That slow growth isn't good enough. That underpaying excellence isn't sustainable. And that if you don't pay attention to your players, someone else will. So now, the WNBA is at a crossroads. They can either pretend this isn't happening and get blindsided again, or they can rebuild radically, immediately, and unapologetically. But the clock is ticking, and the longer the silence stretches, the more power Project B gains. Because the league can't afford to lose control of this narrative much longer. One player is enough to change the conversation. 2 is enough to shift the momentum. 5, that's a collapse. And let's be real, players aren't just thinking about this season. They're thinking about legacies, families, futures. If someone's putting generational wealth on the table with better healthcare, better travel, better global reach, what exactly is keeping them in the W? Because at the end of the day, it's not about loyalty, it's about value. And if the WNBA keeps asking players to settle for less, they're going to lose everything. So here we are, a league on the edge, a new global empire rising, and one contract that could change the course of women's basketball forever. If you're watching this unfold, you already know this isn't just drama, it's a new chapter. So like the video if you're following the chaos, share it with someone who still thinks the WNBA can wait this out, and hit that subscribe so you don't miss a single twist as this story keeps developing. And let us know in the comments, if you were in Caitlin Clark's shoes, would you turn down $150 million?